Hi and welcome to Easy Fishing. Today I'm on a small club lake and I'm going to be fishing the Waggler. Tackle today, my trusty Drennan Red Range 13-foot float. Drennan 930 rear drag fixed ball, 4-pound line. Float is a 2-gram loaded crystal, dotted with 1 number 4 and 5 number 8 stops down the line. Hook length 12 inches of 0.16 to a size 16 hook with a quick stop. Bait today will be pellets, corn and meat. Now I know that in this lake there's a lot of small fish, so I'm opting to go for the bigger fish. So I'm going to start off with a piece of corn. Now I've plumbed it up. I'm about 1.5 inches, 2 inches at the most over depth, because there's an intermittent, quite strong breeze. So first of all, let's get baited up. So here is the hook. It's a 16 Drennan carp match, barbless obviously, with a quick stop. So to bait it up, just take a quick stop needle, insert it into the end like that and push it through your bait. Now with corn you can push it through from the side, from the bottom, from the top. I'm going to go through from the side. Right, let's push it out, grab hold of the quick stop, ease it off the needle, turn it round, and there you have the perfectly mounted hook bait. Now I happen to know this lake is absolutely stuffed full of small carp, bream, prussians and tons of small roach and rudd. If I was to put a maggot on, I would just get bitted out. Now the shotting, because I want the bait to get down to the bottom fairly quickly, I've bought the 5 number 8s, about 18 inches or so from the hook, so it gets down quickly and then you get a slow drop for the last 18 inches. So let's get that out there. As soon as it's out there, I'm going to pick up my catapult. I'm going to feed a few pellets. Not a lot, about 5 or 6. Let's see how accurate I can be. Not bad. So, there we go. Now, same as with any other fishing, feeding is the key. Now at the moment, this float is holding still against the breeze, but if it breeze gets up, I will have a bigger float, a much heavier one ready to go. Hope I won't need it, but you never know. So let's just crack on with the fishing. Now I'm going to keep up a feed regime of a little bait every couple of minutes. I also have my meat is 10mm cubed, so that should deter most of the small fish, I would hope. So let's crack on with it. I have my landing net. I'm sitting on my little Octopus Super Stool. It's a beautiful evening, mostly clear sky with some fluffy cumulus clouds. Nice breeze coming from, I would say, the northeast, and it's a very pleasant evening. So let's just hope I can do some business on this. Oh, and I think I've just had a little lift bite. And the float's dragged slightly. put a bit of corn. So if the float's going to drag, I'm going to have to increase the depth. I don't want to be too far over depth, but I don't want that bait to be dragging along the bottom, because the free offerings won't be dragging, so it's going to look unnatural. And the number 4 shot that I put on has just pinged off, which is why I hate these non-toxic shot. If you pinch them on too tight, you risk damaging the line. But it's a matter of seconds to fasten another one. Now let's get that out there now. I'm not clipped up. What I am doing is I've picked a reflection from a tree on the far bank, and I'm overcasting it very slightly, and then submerging the line, quick flick to sink it and bring it to the right place. And just hold the rod. In fact, I can just feed again and put some pellets out this. No, I'll put some meat out this time. I'm trying to get some better quality fish. Whoops, a couple of feet. Oh, and I definitely had a bite then. A bit more meat in. Now the catapult I'm going to have to is a bit soft. I'm going to have to stretch this a bit more. Oh, there we go. Oh. Keeping your eye on the float at all times. I've also plumbed up the depth, and it seems to be pretty even. So there, I might well feed a swim a bit closer into my left with some pellets and some corn to give myself 2 swims to try. Oh, definite. Look like a liner then from fish. And I missed it. Let's just check the corn. Perfectly intact. When you cast it, just look upwards, little flick, feather the line, bury it and feed. Put some more pellets out. Pretty sure the fish are onto my bait already. Check your clutch can give line. If it's carpet, it might well bolt off. But I hope it does. I want a good fight on this light rod. Though it's not advertised as a carp rod, trust me, it can handle them. And I'm getting lots and lots of indications. But I'm not going to strike at them until I get a proper gazunder. Because I've got a feeling a lot of these are small fish or fish hitting the line. No point in striking at them and spooking them. I'll wait till it really goes under. Oh, yes, and here we go, first fish. Not a monster, but what a lovely bend. What have we got? We have, oh, a nice quality roach or rudd, looks like. Oh yes. Oh, that's taking the bait right down. Where's my disgorger? Forceps to hand, that'll do. So it's not a monster by any stretch. How about that? Lovely roach. Pop him back. Now, what did I do with my rag? Often when you're using this sort of rig and these quick stops, you often get away without having to rebait. Now that was on corn. I think for the moment I'll probably stick with corn. But although I'm using corn on the hook, I will experiment. And I definitely think quick stops were one of the best inventions ever for fishing. So, look at 45 degrees up into the air, just overcast, flick your rod, grab your catapult. I'm still going to be feeding pellets at the moment. And there we go. And I will put a couple of cubes of meat. And while I had the catapult in my hand, of course, and here we go again. Keep the rod low, lovely mellow action. Well, if this is a roach, it's a nice one. I don't know what it is. Let's have a look. Oh, if this is a roach, it's another nice fish. Oh! And the hook pulled out just as I went to net him. So never mind. Rebait. Well, the roach are certainly on the feed, if nothing else. But once those carp find that feed, they will bully them out. There we go. Few pellets. Oh, bite straight away. It's only going to be a matter of time before the bigger fish put in appearance. So those two roach have, in what, 2 minutes, were both nice quality. Very fast bites, I suspect, roach. Put a few grains in on that closer line. A couple of bits of meat. I'm sure the carp will be there sooner or later. Now I have a nice bed of reeds just to my right, about a rod length away. But I'm not going to fish next to them because the carp will charge straight through them. So, no point in hooking and losing fish unnecessarily. I wonder if I've lost my bait. No. I do enjoy waggler fishing. Modern day fishing seems to have moved away from float fishing, regrettably. But I think it's important that we keep up with it. Oh, and my float's completely disappeared. And again. Oh, and that one was hooked and came off. Corn's still on there. Right. Fish took that as it was sinking. I saw the sharp bob. There go all the droppers down, sinking down to that last bit of the water. Oh, and no shortage of bites this evening. I didn't think there would be. but I would like to get some better quality or some bigger fish. I like those roach, but yes. Right, well, I'm going to change the hook bait to a piece of meat, because the roach are obviously attacking this corn. So exactly the same thing. Pick your quick stop up with your needle in the end, through a piece of meat. Now the reason I prefer this, I find if you directly hook meat or corn, it doesn't stay so well on the cast. Drop the catapult. So, put some 6mm pellets out there. Now if you're wondering why I'm feeding pellets, I've got alternative hook lengths with me that I can just unloop the old one and put a new one on. And these are a Silverfish Bandit. Size 16 again, £3 8oz line. Take anything out of here, I should think, unless I hook a real monster. There we go, meat's in. Let's see if it's carp time. Hit that close in swim going. Now I fed first before I cast out, and I think that's going to be better today because it looks like the fish are intercepting the feed. So I don't want to cast in, feed and then have the fish charge around hitting the line. I want them down on the bottom. I'm not putting a lot of bait in at the moment. I'm only putting sort of 3 or 4 grains, 3 or 4 pellets, 3 or 4 bits of meat, that's all. And if it wasn't for the noise of the M1 in the background, it would be beautiful. And it will die down when the rush hour goes. It's mostly screened by some high trees, so it's not too bad. Now that's stopped all the small fish bites now. Interesting. So, oh, having said that, I just had a little dip. So one of two things has happened here. Either the carp have moved in and are pushing the roach out, or the roach really can't get their heads around a 10mm cube of meat, which is a fair sized bait. Distance wise, I'm probably fishing about 10 metres out from the bank. Not very far. Too many people try and cast too far, and I think you should cast to a distance where you can cast catapult bait easily and control your tackle. Don't try and launch it 50 yards. There's absolutely no point. Interesting. Oh, I've just seen a carp cruising through the swim. So they are around. Good fair sized fish too. Now already I've noticed where I've fed this closer in swim. Whoops, can't even throw straight today. That there are ripples and that which look like they might be better fish, some swirls, though I can still see small fish as well. So anyway, it looks like they don't want a piece of meat, so. Or alternatively, that bite took the meat off. I'll give it one more try with a piece of meat. If it's still no joy, back to corn. Now with meat on and a suitably heavy waggler, I can punch this out 40 yards, no problem. today, fishing at a much more modest distance. It's important to get the line to sink. I'll show you a little trick to get your line to sink quicker as well. Initially, I'm putting the line under the water and flicking the rod top to bury the line. Exactly the same as I did on my video with Waggler on the canal. I'm just using slightly heavier gear, bigger float and bigger baits. Now isn't this strange? I went from a bite of chuck on corn to nothing. The breeze I'm noticing is pushing my float very slowly to the right. It's not drifting excessively, but it is being pushed. But not by very much. So I'm going to try an experiment. I'm going to feed a good pouch full of corn over that. Well, I say good pouch full, 20 grains, if that many, probably 15. See what happens. Oh well, in close in I've got a shoal of rudd absolutely ravenously attacking the bait. But as soon as they can't come, they'll push them out quick enough. Alright, so we're still not getting any bites on meat, so let's go back to corn. These rudder, there's a piece of corn that hasn't sunk, and these rudder are attacking it like a shoal of piranhas. Right, back on the corn. Waters like this are ideal to learn the art of fishing on. Still water version of the canal, lots of fish, lots of bites. Now, interestingly enough, bites seem to have stopped on that. I've had a couple of little dips, and as I said, that it went completely under, but I missed it. Corn's still on there. So, put the rod top about 6 inches under the water and give it a quick flick. Missed that one completely. Alright, let's get that out there, and I'm going to have to go and get my bottle of water. My throat feels as dry as a camel's foot. Missed that one too. And that was a nice gazunder. Alright, one last try before I get my drink. Oh yes, I love the action of this rod. It's nice and soft. It's got enough power for better fish. And what have we got this time? Oh, we got a rudd. I think these must be one of the most beautiful fish swimming around in UK waters. Pop it back and go and find my bottle of water. Well, as per usual, the better roach came later on in the evening. See if I can get a couple more on the big camera. Just double checking that mic's on. Loads of bites, as you always. So I hope anybody who's a beginner and watching this is... oh, fish took that on the drop as it hit the surface. Would you believe it? I hadn't even managed to tighten up. What do we got? It's probably going to be a rudd. Yes. Now, as the sun catches that, how beautiful is that? So, cast it out, feathering it to get it down in a straight line, rod tip under the water, flick it to bury the line. Now, if you're having trouble burying your line, I have a small container here. It's one of those 1 calorie spray oil containers, and I've filled it with a dilute mix of washing up liquid. So just squirt some on your line, really helps the line sink. So let's concentrate on this, if we can get some more. So I'm definitely making sure that I land in the same area. I'm using a reflection on the tree opposite, not a shadow, because the reflection won't move. Don't use shadows. And burying the line, and then just wait. See, there we go, straight away. But that's going to be little tiny fish attacking it. The better fish, I'm convinced, yeah, that's a little fish. He's just desperately trying to swallow an 8mm pellet. And this one succeeded. Oh, and he's come off. That's the trouble when they're that small. Sometimes difficult to get a good hook hold. But the better quality fish are not having a problem. I'll just pop another pellet in there. If you're going to do a lot of fishing with pellets, definitely invest in one of these little pellet benders. Just, if you noticed, I'm not using a rod rest. I'm holding the rod because these bites are pretty quick. I think if you had a rod on a rod rest, you would miss most of them. And this is such a light rod. Alright, it's not as light as the higher spec ones like the Acolytes, but it's still really light and it's a joy to use. I'd recommend one of these Red Range 13 foots to anybody. I'm sure if you gave Alan Scott on one, he would catch as many fish as he would on his Acolytes. This is the thing with Drennan gear. These, well, their economy section of Drennan's gear, this Red Range stuff, is still nevertheless very high quality. And to be honest, they're as good as most other manufacturers' mid-price products, if not better. I've certainly had no complaints with any of the Red Range rods I've got. I mean, I've had this one 3 years, I think, and I absolutely love it. I'll do a long-term review on it soon. But for a beginner's rod, float fishing rod, these certainly take some beating. And like I said, don't be fooled, they will land carp. Just, yeah. Oh dear me, what have we got this time? And it's, oh yeah, look at these are, I mean, you know, they're not carp, but wow, these beautiful roach. Who could possibly be upset at catching fish? Oh, and look at that when the sun catches it. Oh, it's beautiful. Barbless hooks and keep net bands certainly kept these fish in good condition, and they have grown. I was a member of this club a few years ago when this lake was first dug, and I didn't fish it for a while. I was concentrating on another deep pit on the complex for big fish, but this is a beautiful little lake to fish on, and it's a beautiful tactic. And I mean, my bait bills, I doubt if I've even spent £1 on bait yet. The sweet corn was 50p for Tesco's Naturally Sweet. I doubt if I've put a third of a tin in. Luncheon meat was £2.50, and well, I've barely used any of that because they seem to prefer corn or pellets today. So I might just try a little experiment with that, because I don't want to waste it. So what I'm going to do with this meat here is I'm going to take a big handful and I'm going to lob it down to my close-in swim, and yes, the small fish are straight on it. Why am I doing that? I'm going to see if I can get a carp there. Right, so that's got the small fish excited. Maybe, you never know, might get the carp excited too. We shall see. Let's put the lid back on it just to keep it fresh. Go back out on the pellet. Now actually, I'm just going to drop in on that close-in line just to see if there are any carp. I'll only spend a couple of minutes on it. Yes, the float's set slightly over depth, but I think sometimes having a bit of line laying on the bottom is not a bad thing with carp around. Right, that's it. Let's not waste any time on that. It's obviously the carp aren't there yet. Ooh, that's a bit naughty. I've got a bit of a knot, wind knot in the line. Right, I've got a little tool with me for just this situation. A small double-ended metal spike with a bigger and a smaller one on it. But it's perfect for picking these knots out. And there we are, all out. Hold the line tightly, wind it between your fingers, and problem solved. Meantime, where's my float? Right, okay. Let's get back out there. So a knot picker is a very handy tool. The sensorless loop tie does have a bigger one on the end, but that fine metal one I find is the best. I don't know who makes it. I think it was a Corum, but and these small roaches still mangling an 8mm pellet. This is why you can't fish a soft pellet or maggots or something like that, because you'll be forever rebaiting, striking at this fish. At least with the hard banded pellet, you do get more than one bite at the cherry. I'm just amazed that I haven't had a carp yet. But maybe it's one of those days they're not feeding. Or if they are feeding, they're feeding in the surface layers. But I'm not going to set up a shallow rig at the moment. Not enough time. I'll maybe do a video just on shallow fishing for them another time. Oh, it's giving me the twitches. Oh dear. I mean, because keep nets are banned on here, I can't show you what I've caught, but where you've seen I've caught some quite nice roach and decent, but I've probably had now getting on for probably 20 pounds of roach, which is pretty good. Obviously I haven't videoed them all. I shall chop the video around and edit it. See if I can put a halfway decent film together from the end of these. So I've shot some of it on my little Canon. Just a little Canon power shot, point and shoot. Oh, that's better. That was like a rocket, wasn't it? And yes, another quality roach. Superb fish, pellet still on there. I'm just going to put I don't know, I'm in two minds as to whether to put more feed out there, because I don't think it's all gone. And I'm certainly catching good stamp roach on this Waggler. So oh, that one came off. So actually, yes, I'll put some more feed in. Just drop this out here for the bigger roach that can swim. I know that hasn't produced yet, but I've not seriously fished it. I've just had a drop in on it a couple of times. So I'm going to put one pouch of pellet out. And some sweet corn. All I'm trying to do is, if you feed small amounts regularly, the fish will definitely come up in the water, and as you can see, they're already up. The object of putting bait in that quantity is to make the fish follow it down to the bottom. Right, let's try again. Risk grabbing a drink of water. It's bound to get me a bite. Oh yes. Yeah. So many bites, it's unreal. Look at that float, lifting, and I don't know if the video can focus on it, but it's bobbing up and down, it's going sideways where small fish are desperately trying to engulf an 8mm pellet. And one thing I have noticed, and I hope you have as well, that the fish that have engulfed the 8mm pellet have been really good quality stamp fish. I suppose you could say this is pellet waggler fishing, but not in the true sense. This is just a conventional waggler fish with a pellet as a hook bait, but it could be any hook bait, could be meat, hook. Oh. Oh, that cheeky one had the pellet away. Cheeky git, fancy having to spend money on another pellet. I don't know. Extracting the Michael. Now, you can put them on by hand, but it's so much quicker and simpler to use a bender. They can only cost £2 or £3, I don't know exactly, but they're not expensive. But they make putting on a pellet on a band so easy. If you're going to fish pellets, especially hard ones, make sure you got a bander. There's some carp active over near the reed beds. Oh, and what have we got here? Just another roach will run, I guess. That's still very welcome all the same. The hook I'm using, as I said at the start of the video, is what's known as a silverfish bandit. And don't be fooled, it will catch carp. I wouldn't, you know, try and haul a 20-pound carp out of a snag pit with one. But for this kind of fishing, where it's mostly silvers and some carp, they're perfect. Shame the angler with them on his rod isn't so good, but never mind, can't have everything. So it appears that if the bait can get down to the bottom without being ragged by the small fish, that is when you get a hittable bite and they turn out to be bigger fish. Now, it looks like a fish is holding, the float hasn't sunk properly. Oh, there it goes, yes, it was a fish had held the bait up, there we go. I don't know why I stood and sat and looked at that one. Getting bite happy. So I find that you get the small fish like that, I don't know if the video can see it, but they're taking the float, knocking it, jolting it, and they are the small fish. I'm only getting really hittable bites when the pellet has hit the bottom. See, that I think is a small fish. Probably confound me by turning out to be a carp, but no, it's dropped it, I think. No, it's still trying. If you watch small fish swimming around with loose fed bait in the water, the way they dart around like this with a bit of bait that they can't possibly eat but are trying, then you understand why your float behaves like it does. Oh, and a small carp just rolled on the far bank. Well, jumped out actually, it was only a small one though. Well, like I say, I'm having a whale of a time, so. Took it as it hit the water. What have we got? I bet it's a little rudd. Yep. How that got its pellet in its mouth, I don't know, but it did. So we've got about 15 minutes to go. Here we go again. What do we got? Feels a fairish fish. Oops, a daisy. Come on back. Right, now you got yourself all caught up. And that's my phone with undoubtedly my wife. So there we go. So as I thought, that was the wife on the phone. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing me Waggler fishing, and I hope as a beginner you've learned something from it. We didn't catch any big fish today, but I must have had 20 pounds of good quality roach. So until next time, tight lines.